And we are live. Happy Friday every morning, and welcome to the Rebel Roundtable. I have been traveling a lot, so we've had a couple weeks of not being quite as rebellious. But I am so lucky today because I get to talk finances with an expert. I have Thien here from as a financial advisor, and she helps female attorneys make smart financial choices. And I can tell you, as a bankruptcy attorney, I saw a lot of business owners who did not make smart financial choices. And I wish they would have had her to help them through that um, without taking risks, missing opportunities, making mistakes. And so, thank you so much for being here and welcome to Rebel Roundtable.
Thank you, Jen, and good morning, everyone listening. Yeah, thank you for having me here.
So, give us a little quick background on you and your practice and what you do, real quick, before I jump into all these hard questions
Yeah,
that aren't really
so
hard.
I am with a firm called Team Hewins. We are about 30 people, and our headquarters is in Foster City. Um, I work a lot with female business executives and attorneys, and it's been really fun. I think I naturally gravitate towards that group because it reflects who I am, very much, down to do the business and figuring out the strategies to help get everybody's financial life in order. And yeah, so that's the whole firm, and that's what I do. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years now.
Okay, very cool. So, let's jump in then. What are these common financial mistakes that you're seeing law firm owners or professional owners of businesses make?
So one thing about business owners that I notice is that they're running at the speed of light. It is go, 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 business
Yep.
ideas, reinvest in the business, reinvest in the business. And that is awesome for a business owner. And I think, that's part of being a business owner, taking those risks. And because of that, what I see is that the business is the only asset or investment,
Yep.
and sometimes there's not a good balance to having other assets and building their own wealth. And so it's very much a huge commitment to just the business. So that's
Mhm. I can see that. And also, I tend to find that business owners think their business is this huge asset. But then when you look at it, the value of the asset, especially in a professional services and how much book of business they have and kind of the saleable value of it, it's not as big as they think it is when it comes to asset value.
yeah, they have to come back to sort of the foundation of building wealth. It is not just
Yep.
business. It's, let's say it is business, it's related to your business, but I just listened to a really good seminar about owner occupied
Mm,
property. So if you're a business like
yep.
an attorney, maybe part of building your company is building the real estate asset where your company can own that real estate. Maybe it's building a retirement account where you can fund your own retirement and so pay yourself first, right? When we work for a firm, we had a 401k, and what do people tell us when we're young? Pay yourself first. So making
Yep.
sure that it is related to the business, but you're building your wealth too.
And I think I see that too. You think a law firm looks really successful from the outside because we're all really good at faking it until we make it sometimes. And so it looks like there's cash flow coming in, but then the owner isn't doing anything from the personal standpoint to pay retirement, to actually develop that wealth. That's what I've seen, at least, is
Yeah, it
just
is
this
sort of
lack of planning. Yeah.
lack of planning. I would say it's because, you have to balance, do I reinvest in the firm? And I
Yep.
think that can take it a little bit too far when they just keep reinvesting in the firm without, again, without balance. But then I think it comes
Yep.
back to, if they're in their own heads thinking about that all on their own, it could be hard. Like a CPA is
Yep.
helpful, a financial advisor is helpful, a business coach is helpful. So having
Yes.
somebody else or a team to bounce those ideas off, am I balancing this? Am I just taking too much and putting it into the business without thinking about myself and my own building my own wealth?
That's an important point that you just made, because I've talked about this before on Rebel Roundtable of we're really good at giving advice for whatever our profession happens to be. And we're really bad at using those same types of resources for ourselves. So I see like law firm owners trying to DIY financial
Yeah.
planning, DIY operations, DIY all these things that they're not experts at, but they think, oh, how hard can it be?
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is for a lot of business owners, probably attorneys, but other business owners too?
I think so. The excuse, I have a few things, and it'll get into some of it's finances. Some of them think, oh, I can't spend money on that because that isn't like I can do that myself and save myself money. And I think that's probably one of the number one reasons is they don't realize the ROI from actually having a third party or someone else look at things. And then I think the other is we think we don't have time. It's that scarcity of, oh, I don't have time to look at this and I don't have time to look for someone who can do it for me. I might as well just do it myself because it's quicker to do it myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And I think that's where, business owners have to get out of their own head and
Yep.
maybe just have one advisor that they can bounce these ideas off and someone who can give them direct, straightforward, you know, no, you're spending too much time on this and you should outsource this and you'll get the ROI for it. Whether that's their CPA or business coach or financial advisor. But yeah, I think we could spin our own heads because we're both business owners as well.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
And I do find that. And even when I probably know what the problem is, or I can kind of think through what the problem is, having that validation. And I think people underestimate or discount the value of just having someone that will brainstorm and figure out, like, have you thought about all of these things? If you have, great, you reinforce that you're on the right track. But a lot of times things come up where they're like, oh, I never thought about that, or that's a really good idea, or no, I think you're misunderstanding my goal. And then have they stated their goal correctly? Like it kind of reframes things for them sometimes.
yeah, I just did the same exercise in my team where I have one team member summarize what another team member said. And it's so nice to hear. I said, be as concise as possible. And it was so nice to hear that one team member was able to summarize so concisely what another team member said, like babbling for a minute or two.
Yep.
So it's nice to hear what people are hearing from you, and so that you can hear what
Yep.
yourself is basically trying to do or trying to say. Should
Yep.
we go on to other mistakes that I've seen and how to,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so
Jump
I
into
think
what else do you see these days?
blurring the lines of business expenses and personal expenses. So when we
Yep.
work, we pass along a lot of expenses to our business, and that's understandable. But knowing, of course, we have an exit someday, and some of those expenses will be coming back to our personal expenses. So it's not coming out of the business income anymore. Like cars,
Yes.
like anything
Yes.
office expense. We deduct our office. What else do you see? Uh, yeah, a number of just
Well,
yeah. What
yeah. No,
else?
I think some of it too comes down to um, actual tax planning, like talking to a tax, like what you can deduct from a business and knowing some of that and building your financial plan around like the most effective tax planning strategies in conjunction with then financial planning, whether that's deferred compensation, retirement planning, W-2 income. Like, how do you plan your income so that you're maximizing
Mhm.
and minimizing tax consequences to things? And it sounds
Yeah.
like a lot of work, but it's saves you a lot of money in the long run.
Yes, yes. And so, yeah, I mean, you have a business, so a business has a lot more flexibility than an individual, if you're
Yep.
working for a firm. So there's a lot of planning around that. But yeah, I would say at least, understand the deductions that you're taking right now, that when you don't have the business anymore, you're not going to take those deductions, or the expenses that you're passing on to the business right now, legitimate expenses that will come back to you as an individual when you no longer have the business. So I see
Yep.
that
Yeah. Exactly.
that line blurred a lot, between, and not keeping records straight. That's the other thing. It's not even about the expenses coming back to you, but it's like I think having the checking account, having the credit card account, having a really good accounting, especially when you're sole
Hmm.
proprietor. If you have a company with a
Yep.
few employees, that's clearer because you have your
Yep.
books. But if you're a sole proprietor, it gets a little bit, you tend to like, oh, it's me, I am the business is me.
Yep.
And credit cards are all over
And
the
even
place.
with And even when there's employees and stuff, sometimes I still see people like paying expenses out of their business operating account that aren't business expenses, or they're trying to pay their mortgage or something. And I'm like, stop blurring those lines. Keep like it's a
Yeah.
business expense or it's not. So,
Yes. I think it comes down to that convenience, right? You have the three or
yep,
one credit card, you forgot to carry the other credit card, and it happens.
yep,
It does happen.
yep.
Like I only have enough room in my phone back pocket for three cards. So yeah.
And I think some of it comes down to when someone starts out in a business, new law firm, they don't always take the time. They don't think they have the resources to plan. They don't set it up correctly. And so they start as taking money out of the operating account and paying expenses because, that's just how I started and set it up. I didn't talk to an accountant, didn't talk to a financial planner. And then it's hard to change that once that's your habit that you've gotten into. So I see a lot of that, like doing things because they defaulted to it and they don't know how to change it now.
Yeah.
Do
And
you have
I've
any
seen
any advice on that, on how they change that?
but one other thing is I've seen business owners where they set up automatic payments and then you have to go,
Yeah.
what did I set that up on? How do I go back to change it? Because you forget what you Um, there is no easy way. It's just an first itemize your credit cards and your checking accounts, like what's what. I guess that's the very
Yeah.
first thing. That's not too difficult, is just itemize, hey, I have all these different checking accounts, savings accounts, business accounts, credit cards, and then
Yep.
really then start to separate everything. Start with the credit cards. I think the credit cards are probably you know,
Yeah.
have one credit card for business, have one credit card for personal, and then definitely you have to have separate checking accounts for business and personal, where all of your account receivables go into the business.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
I'm not sure there's an
And
easy way except for sit down and do it, or have your accountant sit
that's
down
the
and do it
thing.
with you. Have someone accountable,
Yes, that's
someone
what I was
someone
going to say.
holding you accountable.
Yes, someone who's going to, and if your accountant is just doing your taxes every year and you dread it because you have to get a whole year's worth of stuff together, there are great services out there that will help you like monthly get all your expenses or do bookkeeping. No lawyer should be doing their own bookkeeping. You can pay fairly nominal amounts, less than an hour's worth of billable time if you're still billing by the hour. And that can be a good check for you so that you're not so overwhelmed when you're
Yes.
trying to put it all together for the accountant, that kind of thing. So baby steps, baby
Yes,
steps.
yes, and we talk about ROI, right? One billable hour can
Yep.
probably, get you more than this bookkeeper or accounting service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would think that once a person is established in their career, they've got a business, at what point does I'll deal with it later become almost dangerous for financial planning?
Oh, I would say when
Doesn't have to be an
you
age, but yeah, like are you
yeah,
looking at
age
things?
age wise, I would say maybe if you're 10 years into your business, it's getting late.
Yeah.
And if you're
Yep.
in your mid 50s, you're already thinking about retirement in the next 10 years. Because you work so
Mm-hmm.
hard, you probably think about, if possible, early retirement or not even early retirement, but not having to depend on your income. But if you love what you do, you might
Yep.
want to continue what you do, but you don't want to depend on your
Yep. The
income.
pace of it can slow down.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
pace of it, slow down, do different things, mentor the other people in your firm. So where I see is when they get to that point, the retirement assets is very large. They've done a good job
Yep.
at building the firm, having the right advisor to advise them, hey, open this account, defined benefit or 401k that helps you save a lot. And then so the other assets is in retirement account. And the problem with
Yep.
that is when you retire and start taking distribution, every dollar that comes out of a retirement account that's pre-tax is going to be an ordinary income tax. So if you don't have
Hmm.
different buckets of money like retirement, non-retirement, Roth assets, then you don't have a really good distribution planning and tax efficient strategy in distribution age. So I would say back to your question on when does it become a little bit
Yeah.
late, it's 10 years in, or I would say 10 years from retirement is where you should really, really get thinking about it, because I have clients who came to me in their 60s and they said, we should have come to you 10 years ago.
Yep.
I
Yep.
started working
Well,
with
and I often do like the financial wellness a lot of times is a big topic that I do with employers. And one of my big things is to talk to the 20-year-olds about retirement. I'm like, if you start putting money into retirement now, this is how much more money you'll have, even if someone starts at 40 and starts putting money in. Like you'll have millions of dollars more with compound interest. And hopefully I get that across to a few of them because you see them, they don't set up the retirement thing. Oh, I can't afford 5% or 10% off my income, but you can't afford
yeah.
not to. You
I,
do it
I
early as
think
possible.
I
So,
think while we know compounding is very powerful, somehow it doesn't register.
yeah.
And and you could also see it in graph form where the first 10 years grows very little, 15 years very little, 20
Yep.
years, and then when you get to 30 to
Yep.
35 years, it is such a huge, and somehow that compounding doesn't register to everybody. But I think for me,
Yep.
I see it in clients' portfolio daily because I'm in it daily. And so I know that compounding really truly works. And that's why saving early at 20 years old, even a smaller amount, when you're 50 years old, you're at the height of your earning. But if you started saving at 20,
Right.
you might compound even more because of the compounding impact.
Exactly. And I know people drone on or people like glaze over when I start talking about compound interest and things like that, but or compounding because they just don't realize the value of starting even 10 years later is so much significantly less in
Yes.
the long run. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, and so for financial planning purposes for law firms, what are the different types of like retirement buckets you're usually looking at? Like you mentioned Roth, I think you mentioned 401k. Like what are we looking at for different types of buckets?
Yes. So if they're business owners with their own business,
Mhm.
the first thing to start out with is a 401k. And if you're an
Okay.
individual, and you're a sole proprietor, maybe they call it an individual 401k or solo 401k, which you could only be a sole proprietor to do that. So typically it's just the owner, and if their spouse is working in the business, that's it. Once you start having employees, then you have a regular 401k. And then when
Mhm.
you start building your firm even bigger than that, and you have more employees, then you can tag on, and you have really good cash flow. Then you can tag on to the
Mhm.
401k of profit sharing. And then even
Okay.
better than that, let's say you have a very small, tight-knit 10 people firm with 5 or 6 partners, then you could do a cash balance plan, which is a defined benefit plan. So that gives even more, you can put even more away. So then, yeah, you start off with a solo 401k. Typically, back in the day, people use SEP IRA a lot,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I like solo 401k more. They're interchangeable, but there are some key differences. But solo 401k, you could save more
Okay.
to a solo 401k, not the max, but just the formula. And then
Yeah.
401 regular 401k, profit sharing plan, and then you go to a defined benefit cash balance plan as such.
Okay. So something I hear both with lawyers, law firm owners, and just people in general is, oh, I know approximately what I have in my accounts. And it almost generates this idea in my head that they've never sat down and like they don't have an actual plan. What does an actual plan look like? It's I would assume it's kind of a either documented somewhere, there's an actual meeting that happens and talks about it, but what does an actual financial plan look like? And what is this? Oh, I know the account bank statement reconciliation. No one does it anymore. They
Yeah.
don't teach that anymore for because it's, oh, I know how much is in my account. That's not how much money you have. How much money in your account is not how much money you have. So what does an actual plan look like?
Yes, an actual plan starts with probably a balance sheet of your assets, your liability,
Yep.
and your
Okay.
cash flow, like your expenses, personal expenses, business expenses, whatever goes in and out, your income. So that's the backbone of a final your plan. And then a plan also have a list of your short-term and long-term goals. What do you
Yep. Okay.
need short term? You might have a 5 to 9 college education in the next, spending in the next few years. You might want to
Mhm.
buy a second home. You might want to pay off, if you were starting out, you might still have student loan debt. So it includes
Yep.
short-term goals, long-term goals, and then how to get to those goals. Like, let's prioritize these goals, and these are the actual steps we're taking to get to those goals. That's what a financial plan is in a nutshell. If it's to pay down certain debt, well, there's a plan to get there. You can't just woof, pay back a couple $100,000 of debt. You might not have the cash flow. If I'm trying to think, I think, yeah, at the end of the day, it's very clear that you're moving towards those goals. Like, you feel confident and you're moving towards it, and you have the accountability partner of your financial advisor to help you get there. You're having quarterly meetings or whatever
Mhm.
frequency makes sense to you. Uh, and you feel just very clear that I'm getting there. If I'm not there yet, I'm 3 years from getting there. Or, I'm 5 years from getting there, but you get there faster than 5 years. So it's always a good thing. Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's documented. It's either documented in, when you review with your financial advisor, it's on
Mhm.
different things, or it's actually in a software, and a
Yep.
financial planning software. You are seeing the next 10, 20, 30 years of your financial picture. So I mean,
Yep.
technology is very robust now. We can show it in number forms, in Excel form, in graph forms, in graph that moves when you say, what if I have a really good year. And so I'm going to take a bigger, a
Mhm.
bigger payout, and I'm going to invest it for myself personally. How does that change your financial picture? What if I have
Yeah.
a year where there's a huge, loss, or something and then I have to put more money into the 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 plan and into the retirement plan? What does that look like? So you could do any number of scenarios. So the plan starts with numbers, and then, well, sorry, it starts with goals and then your numbers and then
Yep.
actions to get to those goals.
Yep. That makes sense. There's a study out there that I often quote for bankruptcy and credit scores is that people who check their credit scores tend to have higher credit scores. Like that's the baseline for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing, I think, with financial planning. People who actually check their financial plan and look at it have better financial plans because those who aren't checking and doing it are, I don't want to say running scared, but they're operating from a lack of information.
Yeah.
And you can make a lot of changes if you have the right information, but if you're not even willing to look at it, you're not going to make the right decisions.
Yeah. And you're not even taking the advantage of everything you could, all the opportunities, even the small ones
Right.
like Roth, backdoor Roth contribution. If you did that at 20 years old, building up five to $7,000 a year in a Roth account, imagine what you have at 50.
Yep.
You have this
Yep.
big chunk
Exactly.
that's never taxable. you know? You could have
Yes,
500 to a
exactly.
million dollars of non-taxable money. Yeah.
So lots of good conversation. Let's start wrapping up so I could go on about finances and personal finances for days and days and days, which everyone knows. Um, where can people find you at if they want to reach out to you? How do they
Yes,
find you?
so teamhewins.com, team and Hewins, HEWINS.com, and you can find me there and on my website. My name, LinkedIn, if you search it, I think you'll find it. But yeah, there's
Mhm.
a contact me on my website, or yeah, you could reach out to Team Hewins as well and get directed to me.
Sounds good. And I'll put that in the notes from the live stream so people can click on the link down there too. Okay, so our final question on the Rebel Roundtable is we have a Spotify playlist with Rebel Roundtable anthems, so songs we want to, pump ourselves up with. What is your favorite song to pump up your Rebel anthem?
Oh, Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
don't
good
know.
one.
Dun,
It's
dun.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's been a
Yeah.
favorite for a few people, so it's on there a
Oh,
few
good.
times. But that's a good one. So if anyone needs some music to get them started in the morning before they head to court, whatever they're doing, check out the Spotify playlist, Rebel Roundtable Anthems, and all of our songs from all of our guests are on there. So thank you, Thuong, for being here. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jen.
And everyone else, check back on Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific for the Rebel Roundtable. I will see you.